Okay. So we have started recording. So before I start, I'll first like to find out if everyone can see my screen. I'm sharing a slide titled Data Analytics Introduction. If you can see, please put a thumbs up. If you cannot see, please let me know in the chat if you cannot see the recording, my screen. So just okay, perfect. So so we'll go straight to the content, what we'll be discussing. And as I said, the slot, we have 3 hours. We may finish before time. We will have breaks within the 3 hours. We'll have 10 minutes breaks within the 3 hours. We'll have a lot of Q&As for people to share ideas, and we'll try to make it as engaging as possible. And also 3 hours really the time flies really fast. So you may think 3 hours is a long time, but others who have been in my sessions, you can testify that 3 hours is a very short time. So going straight to why we are here. So this is the first session of my data analytics training. And in this session, it's an introduction. So we'll be doing a lot of discussion about what data is, what data analytics is, what you should expect as a data analyst, and the skills, the knowledge, and the behaviors you are expected to know. We'll also be discussing, we'll also introduce several tools which you will come across as a data analyst. And we'll have a lot of Q&As and a lot of discussions. So going straight to the content for today. So as I said, it will be 3 hours. So this is a brief content. I'll start with some housekeeping rules. And these housekeeping rules is for this session and upcoming sessions for people who are have registered to be learners in my training course. And we'll discuss a little bit about data analytics. The next session, we will talk about the tools, we'll talk about databases, we'll talk about the tools which are required, or the programming languages which are required, you are required to know as a data analyst. And we will conclude this session with what we call a data portfolio, which is just a demonstration of your skills, your knowledge, and your behaviors. And this is very essential for employers and also for others who are interested in knowing what you have done. So housekeeping rules. So the first thing is, throughout this training program, before each session, you'll be the code, which, because our sessions are really hands-on, so our sessions are designed to be very hands-on. So excuse me, I think I have some. Okay, sorry about that. So our sessions are really hands-on sessions. So we'll be doing a lot of coding. So a lot of people who are scared of programming, you are in the right place, because you will realize that programming is really easy to learn. So all the code which we'll be demonstrating, all the practice exercises will be provided before the class. So if we have a session like next week, if we have a session on SQL, the code and will be provided a week before that session, so that people can start playing around with the code. And obviously we will have exercises and practical exercises within during the sessions to walk through the entire code. So we'll be using Teams, Microsoft Teams, as our main communication channel in terms of material. So all the materials will be provided through Microsoft Teams. And we have a team channel there where all the materials will be provided. We also have a WhatsApp group and a WhatsApp community, which we are building, and we call it the African Data Analytics Community. So we have started building it, and it will be growing within the years or throughout the years. We hope to really to take advantage of that community in terms of opportunities, in terms of jobs, in terms of projects, in terms of a lot of things. Anything that has to do with data and AI, will that community will be the center place to get information from. So we have a WhatsApp group where we communicate day-to-day activities and day-to-day information. Also, it's very important, as I said, you may think the 3 hours session is quite a long time, but it's quite short. So it's very important for us to come on time throughout our sessions. So if we say 12 o'clock, try to be there at 12 o'clock, because, or if we have drop-in sessions at 7 p.m., try to be there at 7 p.m., because time really flies. And I've seen that with previous cohorts, because you think 1 hour within, by the time you start, by the time you do introduction, about 10 minutes is already gone. Microphones should be muted at all times. Obviously, you have the privilege, if you really want to talk out, if you don't like texting, you can speak out, ask your questions out. I'm very open to whatever suits you, because I'm here for you. So whatever suits you is what I go for. But just to ensure that we limit the amount of distraction, please mute your mics. The team channel, use the team channels for the team's chat for all questions and messages. So during this session, if you have questions, if you have learned about a certain data and you want to know more about a certain skill, just put it in the team chat what your question, and I will answer your question as soon as I get the question in the team's chat. We have, for my learners, so people who have registered to my course or my training, we have one-on-one sessions. Book one-on-one sessions as much as possible. These are not included in the plan or in the schedule of the training. Obviously, we have weekend trainings and we have weekday trainings. These are not included. So I encourage all my learners, as they progress with their portfolios or with their concepts which I teach them or which they learn, please book one-on-one sessions for your questions or to demonstrate what you have learned or what you have done during your practice exercises. And obviously, one-on-one sessions will be available according to my availability and your availability. To get a good 45-minute slot with one-on-one sessions to discuss whatever challenges or whatever progress you have made. Feedback questionnaires are always provided in my sessions. For my learners, if I have any learner who was in my previous cohort who has taken the who has the privilege, who is attending this session, they will testify that going all this all through all my PowerPoint slides are totally different from the slides I had in the previous cohort. And why is it that? Because I have embedded all the feedback my learners told me about my teaching style, maybe issues they were facing. I embedded in to my learning style. I improve how I teach people, and it's all about ensuring that my learners learn what I am saying or understand what I'm saying and can put that into practice. So after every lecture, I provide questionnaires for my learners to provide feedback on how I can improve the content of my lessons or of my training. All lectures, as I said in the beginning, all lectures are recorded, and my learners have access to the recorded lectures. In case they miss a lecture, they can watch the lecture to catch up on certain concepts and what I've taught. So who am I, or who is your lecturer, your tutor? So again, it's very important to understand the person who claims to be an expert in the domain and who has the privilege to teach you guys. So I am Dr. Jimaima Mafeni Mase, and my initial background was in computer engineering. So I studied in University of Buea, Cameroon. I studied computer engineering. I was the first batch in University of Buea, and later on I worked for a while in Huawei as a network engineer. And later on, I moved to the UK, where I got a passion in data and AI. I did my master's in University of Nottingham. I did my PhD in computer science, focusing on AI, artificial intelligence. And I have worked in a consulting firm for quite a while. I've moved jobs around, and I've had the privilege to collaborate with so many companies and so many researchers, AI specialists, machine learning specialists, data scientists, business analysts have collaborated in so many different projects. So under my experience, those are some of the projects I've worked with, some of the projects I've been employed under, and some of the companies I've worked with as a consultant. And Currently, I'm a certified data analytics and AI trainer and assessor. The company I work for currently, I work there as an assessor. So we are the people that create the standards to certify anyone in the United Kingdom as a data analyst or as an a artificial intelligence specialist. So we create the standards, we assess you, and we give you that certification. So it's a privilege for me to be here. I'm very happy that a lot of people have joined, and I look forward to sharing this knowledge, sharing my knowledge, and also learning from others as well. I'm very open to learning. I'm a researcher. I have a PhD, so I'm a researcher, and one of the key skills of a researcher is open to knowledge. So I'm open to ideas. So if I teach you something, you go and you find something that is different, please feel free to come and challenge me. I'm not that kind of person. I learn, and all my learners will tell you I learn from my learners. I've written code, and some of my learners have even optimized the code and had better code, and we have stood by the learners version because that is the right way to do things. So thank you, everyone, once more for joining this session, and we will move forward to why we are all here. And the main thing why we are all here is to understand what data analysis is all about. So one second again, just to ensure I admit someone. Okay, has the person been unmuted? Okay. So what is data analysis? So data analysis is the collection, the cleaning, or what we call the preparation of data. So you collect data from somewhere, you clean or you prepare this data for analysis. You analyze the data to extract insights from the data, and the importance and why are you extracting insights, obviously, is to support business decisions. So you analyze this data to answer business questions, to make predictions, or to provide recommendations to your business on how to move forward, or how on what things to do and what things not to do for the future of the business. As you can see, no, there was no mention of any domain. So data analysis is not domain specific. So all companies. So we work in my company. We work with various companies. We work with engineering companies, healthcare, um, education, finance. Everyone who comes across data should be able. Sorry, just 1 minute. Just admitting people. Sorry about that. So everyone who comes across data. So if your day-to-day activity or your day-to-day job, you deal with data, and I will teach you, I will explain what data is. All of us have come across data. But if you come across a large amount of data, you are required to learn the skill of data analysis. So data analysis is not a role, it's not a job, even though you can get a job as a data analyst, but it's not about the job, it's about the skill, the knowledge, and the behavior. So that is what you learn, and you can apply it to any other job. So you do not need to change career sometimes to apply the skills of data analysis. So we have accountants, and you're going to see the data. We have a lot of finance experts who are learners in my domain. Some of them are not looking forward to change their domain or change their domain, but they are looking forward to use this skill to be able to analyze the data, the financial data that comes into the company, to make informed decisions, to answer business questions for their company, and to forecast what will happen in the future. So you want to look at sales in your business, historical sales, and to be able to forecast that in the next 5 years, this is the projected sales in your business. So it is not domain specific. Any company, any organization that stores data is required, or any organizations or companies that store data are required to have specialists that are able to analyze that data and make sense out of that data. And the duties of a data analyst. So I mentioned we have just explained what data analysis is, but these are the main duties and what you are expected to do or what you are expected to know as a data analyst. So the first thing is requirements. You see where it starts from. So it starts from requirements, and this is one of the most important skills of a data analyst. And what are requirements? Requirements are understanding what the business actually needs, understanding what is lacking. So this requires a lot of what we call stakeholder engagement. So communicating and engaging with your stakeholders to understand the requirements of the business. So when you understand the requirements, remember you are communicating with stakeholders that do not understand data analysis. So some of their requirements may be impossible. So they'll have like unimaginary requirements. You collect all the possible requirements from these stakeholders, and what you do is, again, excuse me. And what you do when you collect all of these requirements is you analyze the requirements according to the data you have in your business. So someone may come and tell you a requirement, but you cannot actually meet that or achieve that requirement or meet that requirement because the data in the business is limited to actually meet that requirement. So you collect the requirements from the stakeholders, which will be a lot of interaction. You go back to your company and you analyze the data you have in your company to select or to prioritize some of the requirements. So you have a lot of requirements. You can have 20 requirements from your business or from different stakeholders in your business. Remember, your business will have different stakeholders. You collect these requirements, you look at the data, you look at the tools as well. So you look at the data you have, you look at the tools you have, you look at the time. There's a time factor. Remember, if we had unlimited time, we will be able to achieve anything possible. So you have the time, you have the resources, and also you have the data. So you're going to analyze, you map these requirements to the data, the resources, and the time you have, and you're going to prioritize some of the requirements. When you have selected these major requirements, the first thing you do is you try to extract what we call business questions. So the requirements may be very high level, so you need to bring them to a data level, right? So you have requirements which may be very high level. You need to bring it to a data level because you want to use the data to achieve the objectives, which are the requirements. So you need now to create business questions that can be answered using the data, the tools, and the time scale you have at your disposal. Then you move forward now to collect your data, to clean your data. You move forward to analyze your data using visualizations, statistics. Some of the requirements may require machine learning, which is predicting the future. So you may be required to create machine learning algorithms which will predict the nearest future or forecast what will happen in the future. And after you do all of this analysis, one of the key things as a data analyst is to come up with recommendations. So during this cycle, you will be interacting with your stakeholders. So it's not a it's a very agile approach. So you collect the requirements. During the analysis, you are still engaging with your stakeholders to ensure that you are meeting their requirements, because you do not want to take the requirements, go off for 2 months, come up with a result, and the stakeholder is like, no, this is not what I asked for. So you need to develop an agile approach where there is constant communication between yourself and the stakeholders throughout this entire cycle. The recommendations is key because this is when you provide recommendations to your business according to the insights you have extracted from your data. And that is where the power is. If you are a data analyst, you're perfect at programming, you're perfect at analyzing data, but you cannot extract insights and recommend future actions or strategies to your business, you're not going to climb the ladder. So you may still be a data analyst, but you will never become like a senior data analyst or a lead data analyst. So in order for you to excel in your career, you need to be able to communicate your findings and recommendations and strategies and propose strategies for the business to improve their business strategies, to improve their business decisions. So that said, again, all of these are the duties, but in all aspects of data, similar to when we began the session, I mentioned it's a duty of a data analyst or someone, a data specialist, to always be aware of things like government legislation. So now data, many years ago, we didn't have a lot of government legislation because even the government did not understand data. When Facebook was created and when they were extracting all of our messages, our videos, our pictures, no one understood the power of data or what we call the risks of data analysis, because there are benefits and there are risks. There's a lot of risk now of data analytics. So government institutions have created bodies and policies to govern how we use the data collected from individuals. So it's a very good practice for you to understand government legislation. What is, if a lot of people, if you've heard about GDPR, what is GDPR and what is data protection laws, and understand what you have to do and what you cannot do. It's very important, especially if you're setting up a business or if you are entering a company, especially for those setting up businesses. So if you're setting up a data-driven business, you need to create your system in such that it complies with government policies. Also, organizations also create their individual, or what we call their internal policies and procedures and standards, which they require every employee to follow. So things like how to save data. Do you save data in your personal hard drive, or do you have to save it in the company's OneDrive or the company's cloud storage? All of these are the policies, procedures, and standards which the companies provide. Most often, when you are a new employee, you will go through what we call onboarding. During this onboarding process, you will go through, you'll be trained on all of these organizational policies, procedures, and standards. And we also have to take into consideration ethics. So a lot of government legislation, if you do not follow government legislation, there is a penalty by the government. So you'll be fined and you may even lose your license and so on and so forth. Ethical aspects are not really, there is no penalty to ethical aspect, but we are living in a world of humans, right? So certain things we need to take ethics into consideration. We need to prevent bias, we need to prevent discrimination, and all of this ethic. We need to be transparent in what we do, and that's why I needed to tell my learners that these sessions will be recorded and it will be owned by my company. So we need to be transparent with what we do with people's data, and it's very important. So we need to take into consideration all of these ethical aspects. So to summarize, let me just check again if I have anyone waiting in the. Okay, we have no one waiting and we have no questions. Remember, oh, sorry. Can you hear me well now? Hello,
From
Alison.
time
Can you hear me
to
well
time,
now?
yeah, from time to time, yeah, I can hear you, but from time to time it breaks. I don't know if I'm the only one feeling it.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that. Yep. Okay, we'll try not to break. I hope you didn't miss anything. If you have any questions
No,
about anything I said which you may have missed, please let me know and I will I'll explain whatever maybe any worries you have. Okay. Thank you for that, Alison. Um, so moving forward, so I've explained just to be aware of time. So we'll be having a 10 minutes break in maybe in the next 10 minutes. So data analytics. So I have explained the entire data, what we call the data analysis life cycle, from obtaining requirements to providing recommendations to stakeholders. So now these are the skills which you need to have as a data. It's a must-have skill as a data analyst. I know a lot of people have trained as data analysis, people in different from different trainers, and some people tell you you can be a data analyst without learning programming. You can just use Excel, and I'll tell you no, because one of the main skills of a data analysis is automation. And to automate things, you need to program things. So you need to learn programming. And so unfortunately, I'm not trying to ridicule any learner, any tutor out there or any courses out there, but you need to learn programming as a data analyst. Data needs automation. So some of the skills are, first, SQL. So SQL is just understanding, extracting data from a database or manipulating data within a database. You will learn Python, which is used to analyze the data. You will learn how to analyze the data, to clean the data, to visualize the data is very important, because it's from visualization that we extract patterns and insights within the data, or it's from visualizations that we summarize the data. Because imagine the data is very large. You need a way to summarize that data to be able to identify a pattern or to identify an insight. So we use visualizations, and visualizations are simply graphs, charts, and visual representations of the data. You need to be a storyteller. You need to be able to communicate your decisions, communicate your insights with your stakeholders, and we'll do a lot of hypothesis testing. So sometimes you have your data and you have to create a hypothesis. You have to look at certain things in the data. So for example, imagine you are in a pharmaceutical company. You do a drug test, and you have tested that drug, and you want to know if that drug is effective. So you have collected data about people who have used this drug, and now you need to create a hypothesis, which is there an effect from the drug which you have created? So that is a hypothesis. With the data you have created, you'll be able to answer that hypothesis, and that is what in the health domain they do a lot of hypothesis testing, because they do a lot of experiments to test the effect of different drugs or different interventions. You will learn machine learning, which is forecasting the future or predicting the future and extracting insights out of data. In order for you to migrate from a data analysis career to a data scientist, I've had a lot of people who have contacted me and who do not know data and have said they want to be data scientists. Unfortunately, you need to start from a data analysis domain, because that's where you understand the basics of data, the basics of understanding or creating insights out of data. To move to the data science domain, you will now remember the data analysis domain. You will mostly be dealing with structured data. So data will come in a very structured, like an Excel file, tables and columns. You'll be dealing with that structured form of data. In data science, you will now go to more unstructured data. So things like videos, images. You go to more complex machine learning, what we call deep learning. And you will now have to learn how to develop a machine learning model, deploy that model. Deployment means make it available for your company to use. You monitor the performance of your machine learning model, and you manage your machine learning model. So you go to more machine learning rather than the basics of insights, extracting insights out of data. So those are the other skills if you want to migrate after this. So we do a lot of continuous professional development in my training. So if you want to migrate, you have to focus on these other areas. So to conclude, we will go through. It's always good to understand. We have spoken about data analysis. It's always good to bring that to reality. So let's bring everything we have learned to reality, so that people can understand what data analysis is actually about. So a few months ago, I advertised my learning, my course, and in order for you to participate you need to register. So you go to a Google form. There is a Google form, a Google link. You go there, you put in your name, you put in your email, and there are certain questions. I ask certain basic data questions. You answer that questionnaire, and that is how you register to my course. So that is a form. So that Google form is a form of collecting data. So I use that Google form to collect data from my learners. And the amazing thing with Google Form is in the back end, it already does a lot of data analysis. And what do we say data analysis is about? Extracting insights from the data or summarizing the data so that you can understand the data better. And these are some of the insights I extracted from Google from my learners who registered. So this, I think I extracted this around the beginning of September. So around the beginning of September, I had 39 interest. So 39 people completed that questionnaire. So that is already an insight, and that is as simple. People always think data analysis is complex. That is already a result of data analysis. Just understand how many people registered is really an insight, right? And these are other insight. You see a visualization. So that is what we call a box plot, or sorry, not a box plot. That's what we call a histogram. And a histogram is simply just telling you that that is the score. So remember, I had response. I provided 12 questions for people to answer, and there were questions you could be right or correct or wrong. So that is the performance of that questionnaire, of that survey. So you see the score. So you see the histogram from 0 to 12, 12 meaning the highest, people who had the highest mark. And you see the number of people who had different scores. So you can see that 3 people had just had one question right, and just one person had all the questions right. And you see you see the distribution of the performance of that my questionnaire. You can imagine that if it was skewed, so if we had a lot of, if this what we call the bars, if the bars if they were higher towards the far end, the far right of this histogram, that means there were a larger percentage of the people who registered in my performed very well. So if you had high bars here, it means there is a large percentage of people who performed very well. If we had high bars here, it means there is a larger percentage of people did not perform very well in my survey. So you can always start seeing insights. Imagine we had 2 million interest. So it's difficult to go individually. So this histogram just summarizes. If you had 2 million responses and you could just look at this histogram and look at where the bars are, we have high number of bars and low number of bars, you can easily get insights into the performance of my learners. Also, you also have some summary. So the averagely, you see that people had 6 averagely. So there was a pass mark averagely. So because we had people averagely, people passed had more than 6 questions right. So averagely people had more than 6 questions right. The median score was 7, which is still good, and this is just the range. So we had scores from 1 to 12. So the least person had one question correct, and the highest person had all the 12 questions correct. And also, these are some of the insights again which have been extracted from Google Maps. So it has identified the questions that had the lowest scores. So you already see that that is data analysis. So you're extracting questions with the lowest scores, and obviously this now gives me more insights on the things that people find difficult to understand in data, because these were data related questions. And you can see we had some of the questions: which of the following will you consider as a data type? We had 4 options, and I've given the right answers. So an Excel sheet, video, audio, social media, comments, these are all types of data. We also had the key benefits of programming. We just had 9 people who had this question correct out of 39 people. And this is the key benefits of programming: scalability, automation, reusability. Which of the following is true about comments in programming? 2 options were correct, and these are I've even added 3. So to document your code, to explain your code, and to disable your code. And what does the term machine learning refer to? We had 15 people out of the 39 people who had this question correct, and this is the right definition of what machine learning is. It's developing computers to learn from data and make decisions. So again, this is just a distribution in terms of the profession of the 39 learners or the 39 people who registered or showed interest in my training. So we see this is another insight. So you see that we had a lot of people from the finance domain. So we had about 10 people from the finance domain who have registered or have shown interest in data analysis. We had students, we had analysts. Analysts, it means this can be data analyst, this can be business analyst, this can be any analyst, right? So business analyst, data analyst, or even financial analyst, and so on and so forth. So we had lawyers who were interested, people from the healthcare domain, engineers, we had drivers, and you see a disparity. And this was really interesting because this is what I would like to see. I would not like to see only computer scientists showing interest because they think data analysis is a skill for computer scientists. It's a skill for everyone. It's a skill for everyone who interacts with data. So this is again what we call data analysis. So this is an insight that has been extracted from the data. For the people who are interested in this free session, this is the distribution of the people who are interested in this free session. We still see analysts and finance still topping the charts. So people who registered finance and analysts were topping the charts, and people who showed interest again in this my free session, we still see analysts and finance and students still topping the charts. And we have healthcare again, we have engineers, we have customer service, we have entrepreneurs and researchers, which is quite interesting. So just checking the time, sorry. So we have gone, we are 12:50, so give ourselves 10 minutes break. So you do not need to sign off from the call. You can just stay in the call. Give ourselves 10 minutes break. We'll resume at 1 to continue the content of this course. Again, if you have any questions regarding whatever I've been explaining, if you brought any questions, if you can think of any questions, please put them in the chat because this is the session for me to answer any questions or any worries people have. So I'll stop sharing. I will go off cam and go off mic just to have a cup of tea. And please relax as well. Give ourselves 10 minutes break and resume at 1 for the next part of the course. Thank you. Yes, yes. So everyone, all my learners, you always have the recorded session. So all of this is being recorded and all my learners have access to all the recorded sessions. So if you are a learner, if you're a registered learner to my course, you have access to this as well. Yep. Okay, see you guys in 10 minutes.